Your living room is the factory. The product being manufactured is you.
Welcome everyone to the Wake Up Call channel. Introducing your new Captain America. I'm sure coincidentally enough, 24 hours before this supposed attempt on Donald Trump's life occurred, a trailer was released for a new Captain America movie. And when this trailer came out, I was planning on doing a video in regards to the plot. But thankfully, the government decided to create a psychological operation right before I did that video, so it's going to tie in very nicely with the theater that they're putting on in front of us. Now, most of you, I understand, who are like me, who understand that the left and right is completely controlled, working together to create this civil war. The politicians, the civilians, are completely under hypnosis, falling for this government-created illusion of a left and right, as if your vote counts, keeping everyone divided. Remember their motto, divide and conquer. And you're all probably dealing with people who are disagreeing. In fact, I'm getting people stumbling upon my videos who think that they're awake and are red-pilled, who in fact are very upset at the notion that the government would stage an event and it wouldn't be an actual real event involving Donald Trump. Of course, these are the same people who will find my content and find other people's content and call these events that happen at schools fake. But when it comes to their hero, Donald Trump, they refuse to believe that the government would actually stage something involving Donald Trump to make him look like an even bigger hero. And what you're seeing is that the left and right are getting more angry at people who are not buying into their left-right paradigm. In other words, the left and right hate one another, but when they find out there's people like us who think that both sides are completely controlled, it makes them even angrier to realize that we're not choosing a side because they want you to be involved in the psychosis. They want you to be on a side. And if you're not on a side, it's out of their realm of comprehension that you couldn't choose a side in this, that you actually think that both sides are controlled. They can't process that. So if you didn't see and you haven't heard this trailer from Captain America Brave New World, I'm going to play a clip for you from this trailer. And keep in mind as I play for you this clip, the narrative that's beginning to unfold revolving Donald Trump. The Secret Service, the stories that are out there, even Elon Musk posting about extreme incompetence of the Secret Service, or was it deliberate? Did the Secret Service allow this person on a rooftop to go after Trump? And when you keep that in mind when you're watching this trailer, you'll see that this trailer is eerily similar to everything that just occurred, because everything that just occurred is scripted. Look at this plot for Captain America Brave New World and the theme of an attempted assassination on the president, Harrison Ford, because that's the plot, and how his inner circle is likely compromised as global power is shifting. You can't make it up.
Wilson. They said lose the mustache or lose the election. Making Captain America an official military position. Work with me, Sam. We'll show the world a better way forward. Isaiah!
Sir, your inner circle's been compromised. Either you can't see that, or you don't want to.
Global power is shifting. You're just a pawn. Global power is shifting.
Sir, your inner circle's been compromised.
So the plot looks very eerily similar to what unfolded 24 hours later, but I'm sure that's just a mere coincidence. That's not predictive programming, right? I mean, what do people out there who are in this psychosis think? Well, they don't think at all. They're too caught up emotionally, and they're invested emotionally in this because, again, they can't realize that this whole idea of the deep state that they've created through the media is part of the trap. You see, there is an existence of a deep state. The deep state is real. They don't need to be called the deep state. You can call them the Illuminati. You can call them the New World Order. Call them whatever you want, right? The puppeteers, the people who pull the strings, the people who create these psychological operations. Of course, they're real, but this notion of Donald Trump and the conservatives fighting the deep state is the psychosis that they're keeping you in. They're feeding you this so that you think that you're red-pilled and you're awake, but you're in the psychosis still. And the fact that this film is called Captain America Brave New World should not fall on death's door either, because the novel Brave New World, which many people out there, everybody's familiar with 1984. Not many people are familiar with the novel Brave New World. The novel examines a futuristic society called the World State that revolves around science and efficiency. Sound familiar? In this society, emotions and individuality are conditioned out of children at a young age, and there are no lasting relationships because everyone belongs to everyone else. Kind of like what you're seeing in today's communism society, right? So after seeing that trailer, trending #3 on YouTube, right? Seeing the theme of the election and the president almost being assassinated and a new world order coming after him. Boy, it sounds eerily familiar to the guy who's supposedly fighting the new world order, right? Who couldn't be more of a polarizing figure by design, because again, to prevent a real revolution from occurring, civilians who have had enough of what they're seeing going on, well, to prevent that from happening, there needs to be placeholders, the gatekeepers, the alt-right media, Donald Trump, keeping civilians from realizing that this whole thing is compromised, that your vote doesn't count, that you shouldn't critically think that the elections are not rigged, they're not real, that you're in a psychological operation. By keeping you in a psychological operation, they, of course, can herd you and move you and maneuver you. And like I said earlier, more people are upset about people like me and you who don't believe in the left-right paradigm than they are of the opposition. So in other words, conservatives hate liberals. But when you tell them that you're not involved, that you don't vote, that you don't believe this, it blows their mind. It makes them angrier than even seeing a Democrat who votes for Biden, because they want you to be a part of their game. They won't wake up from the psychosis they're under, and they refuse to believe that they're being manipulated. These are the same people, of course, who think that they're actually awake. Now, the theme again in that trailer that I also want to talk about, and I mentioned earlier, was Elon Musk and all these people talking about how the Secret Service is compromised. Let me play for you a clip of somebody who was there and listen, supposedly there. Listen to this guy talk about how he saw the guy on top of the shed. And of course, anybody with common sense would know the guy was dressed on top of the shed in the middle of pretty much a field, and anybody would have seen him. The people saw him. And then the people pointed out to the Secret Service that there was a man up there. And what they do, they didn't do anything, right? In fact, they let him fire a bunch of shots. So we could see where this narrative is going, that Trump's inner circle has been compromised, just like that trailer shows you. Listen to this guy.
And listen to the rally, right? We couldn't see him, but we could hear him. So we walked up, and probably 5 to 7 minutes of Trump speaking. I'm estimating here. I have no idea, But we noticed the guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof of the building beside us, 50 feet away from us. So we're standing there, we're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle.
A rifle.
We could clearly see him with a rifle. Absolutely. We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey, man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police were like, huh, what? Like they didn't know what was going on. We're like, hey, right here on the roof. We can see him from right here. We see him. He's crawling. And next thing you know, I'm thinking to myself, why is Trump still speaking? Why have they not pulled him up the stage? I'm standing there pointing at him for 2-3 minutes. Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof, just standing there like this. And next thing you know, 5 shots ring out.
So you're certain that the shots came from that guy on the roof?
100%. 100%.
And he was up there for a couple of minutes?
He was up
there?
there.
You saw him up there for a couple of minutes?
Absolutely. At least 3 to 4 minutes.
And you were telling the police and the Secret Service?
We were telling the police. We were pointing at him for the Secret Service, who were looking at us from the top of the barn. They were looking at us the whole time when we were standing by that tree.
Could they see?
Binoculars. But why is there not Secret Service on all of these roofs here? This is not a big place.
So you can't make this stuff up. We're talking about a former president on a campaign trail, which is, again, it is nearly, in 2024, it is nearly impossible for any civilian to get near one of these people with any type of weapon. And of course, you could see the guy if you didn't see my previous video on the actual supposed shooter, you should go check it out. Does he look like somebody who's capable of outsmarting the Secret Service? Of course not. What does he look like? He looks like every other Manchurian candidate that they roll out. Looks completely brain dead, looks weird, has awkward photos of himself, and somehow he was able to get up there and not only fire one shot, fire many shots before the trained Secret Service was able to actually get to him. And of course, they got to him after the damage was supposedly done, because then they don't have any evidence to prove that this guy had a motive or where this guy was from, what his real backstory is, right? Because they all always end up offed at the end of these stories. So I guess it's just a huge coincidence, right? It's just a question of when are these people going to pull themselves out of the left-right paradigm? You would think now would be the perfect time, right? You would think that these same people who would show up and say, oh yeah, this event at the Hook at Sandy or this event here isn't actually real, right? That they would actually wake themselves up from the hypnosis that they're under, believing in Trump and believing in the left-right. But they get angry at people like us for not believing in the left-right because they want Trump to be this person so badly that they've created in their minds. They've made him the ultimate alpha male in a sense, right? They've made him a modern day Captain America. They think he's fighting for them, for their freedoms, because everybody feels like they've been betrayed by the government because people are losing free speech. You see the government overreach every day, them gaslighting you with stories about how the government's hiring more IRS agents. This is all stuff that makes civilians angry, and rightfully so. But this whole left-right mechanism prevents civilians from stopping this any further. In fact, it enhances it. By being in the left-right paradigm, you're enhancing the New World Order's control, because what you end up doing next is what they want you to do by design. Do you understand how that works? What you do next is all formulated. Them doing this stuff with Trump, they're expecting you to invest more emotionally in Trump, more so than ever. And as this moves forward to the fake election, the outcome is going to determine what you end up doing. But you're going to think you're making a free decision when you start going into red states versus blue states. When they start rolling out mandates in blue states and you're forced in, you're going to think you're freely doing it. But it's the left-right working together to create this civil unrest. When they talk on the TV about how bad this all is and, oh my goodness, how dare citizens do this stuff as if normal civilians are running out and doing these government-created false flags. Why are people asking themselves, why are people feeling this way? Why are people so emotionally invested in this stuff like never before? Because they're in a psychosis created by the media. They're doing it. The media's doing it. Trump's doing it. Biden's doing it. They're doing it together to everyone. Then if you stay stuck in the left-right, you will end up in a honey trap. You're going to end up where they want you to be, where they've wanted you to go all along. And you're going to think you're freely making the decision on your own. And you're not. Come out of her. This entire thing couldn't be more scripted. I've talked about this for years. Others have talked about it for years, about this attempt on Trump. There's been predictive programming almost weekly. The government, I just showed you in the previous video, they showed you articles. I showed articles where a week ago they were talking about how Biden has the okay to do this. And now they have all these manufactured conspiracies surrounding it. Who did it? Did the deep state really do it? Did they hire the guy? Did they make a Manchurian candidate out of it? Instead of saying, you know what? This all seems fake. The entire thing seems fake. Even Trump with his, ear splatter seems fake. That's what they should be thinking. But instead, they're in the psychosis, believing the story that the media is feeding them, right? In a sense, because they're believing that it actually happened. So while the media will say that this guy is a Republican, and they're going to all deny it. They're going to say, I don't think it's really the guy. I think they're covering up for a liberal who did it, who's working for Biden. Instead of just going, how about the whole thing is formulated and fake? Why is that out of the realm of possibility? They control the media. Why in the world would they not fake the news? Ask yourself that. If they want you to do this and they want you to do that, what's the best way for them to do it? To control the news. But because you're watching this through the lens of a television, you're watching it through a warped viewpoint. It's not through your own eyes. It's through their eyes. They're showing you this, and then you're automatically stamping it as real because you're seeing it, and it looks like a real production. Trump's on a stage. This happens on stage. It's happening in a live event. How could these people be actors? How could these people be in a... Very simply, they could be in on it. I've explained it for years how they're in on it. Every single person in the media is an intel agent. They all go through training as children through the DMLA, the Freemasonry. Then they go to places like the Tavistock Institute. They're all trained assets of the government. That's what they are. So to break free from it, you have to start looking at the news and say, what are they trying to tell me every time you see a story, including something like this? And people go, well, I know somebody who's there, or there was really a victim. Well, sometimes there are really victims. There was really victims on the 11th day of September, were there not? Does that mean that it was really who they said it was? Of course not. Of course not. And of course, it doesn't mean the way that it happened either, because everybody out there with common sense knows that aluminum can't go through steel, right? Well, in this story, people can't get past the point of, well, there's people there. I know someone who was there. Oh, okay. Well, how about Trump knew what was coming? Trump survived. Trump wasn't even unfazed. Trump said, wait, fight. He asked them to stop and wait so he could take pictures. The picture is now iconic. It's already on t-shirts. Everybody is more invested emotionally in this now than they ever have been. And think about how invested they already were before yesterday, before this happened. We've never seen people so emotionally invested. That's what they want. They're pulling you in. They're making you think that fiction is reality. And they're going to move you around and manipulate you based off of this fake news that they're putting out there with these politicians who are working together to deceive the masses. That's the truth of the matter. And if people out there want to disagree with it, it's just them not being able to get past it. It's on them. They look at it and they go, what does this guy know? What does that guy know? Anybody out there who knows how the CIA works and knows how all these intel agencies have worked since they've been created knows that the news is fake, that it's formulated. They all know about MK Ultra. We all know about mind control operations and how many that they've done over the years, going back to the 40s, the 50s. Now we're in 2024. Now people have their phone in their hand 24/7 and getting fed information. They're under hypnosis, okay? So people out there don't want to accept this because they like it in a sense. They're fighting for this reality. They're thinking that this is their reality, the stuff on the news. And that's the problem. Pull yourself out of it. Realize that it's fake. Watch the news and say, what are they trying to get me to feel? What are they trying to tell me? Because that's what it's for. It's to manufacture stories about people getting hacked and scams, all this stuff I've covered even recently, right? All my longtime subs know, talking about this stuff with the ID, right? Oh my goodness, so-and-so got scammed online and so-and-so lost their identity online and these old people are getting into love romance scams online. What's the agenda? Well, the agenda is digital ID, right? Every single story that's out there, they're not just picking it and going, hey, did you hear about this? Let's put it on national news. They write it and they develop it with the end game being, this is what we want to get people to do. So how are we going to get them to do it? Well, let's write the story. We write the story. And then the message in the story is to make people nervous about their ID online, right? Oh, and then what's the next thing? Well, then we come out with the solution, an ID online. And then people out there, instead of being suspicious about government control, will just get an online ID, a digital ID. And they'll just move on with it. And we'll tell them it's just like buying online, like PayPal or uploading your license. We won't tell them what it's really about. And they'll go along with it because they've been programmed into it. They got feared into it. And then they wanted the outcome that they already had predetermined for them. And it's the same thing with the stuff with the politicians. This is to prevent a real revolution. All these people in MAGA don't realize that MAGA is the deep state. It was created by the deep state. This whole movement, it was to prevent a real revolution in the first place. They think that they are the revolution, and they don't realize that Trump is there to prevent the revolution. And when they end up pulling this fake election out at the end of the year, at November 5th, when they have the fake result of this, the people then won't even realize, but they'll be moved around. They're going to be herded and moved around, and they're going to be in the psychosis so deep that they're going to do whatever they're asked to do. They're going to move where they're supposed to move. They're going to follow Trump to the ends of the earth because they feel like they're victimized, which they are by the government. But they feel like Trump is representing them because of these stories that they put out there by design so that people support Trump, because all these stories, people go, how could they hate? How could Trump be one of them if he's going to court, he's going to jail, they slander him in the media, Stormy Daniels. Well, how else are they going to gain support for Trump without doing that? If they just rolled out Bob Dole, would you suddenly support Bob just like this? Would you be like, oh yeah, I support this guy so much? If they picked another Republican person that wasn't Trump, you would just be like, oh yeah, I'll vote Republican. This is because it's a reflection of what they're doing to you, and they're making him the martyr for you. And they want you to follow what they're eventually going to do here and tell you where to go and what to do when they rig this election, which isn't real in the first place. It's not rigged, it's fake. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.